Okay, so are we ready to begin? I'm so excited for this. I was so excited, I kind of got like anxious a little bit, which is crazy. So what we're going to do today, I mentioned to those who came in a little bit earlier, we are going to do two things. First, we're going to just um, create a seamless design. And this is going to be a fairly simple design. Um, a pattern is what we're going to create. And some of the different things you can use it for is like if you wanted to, those of you who sublimate, let's say if you wanted to sublimate on a fabric, or you could even put this seamless design on the tumbler itself. But just to kind of get the basics of understanding how to create a seamless design. And then I saw this really cute tumbler design, and we're going to use that as inspiration to create our own. So if you have Silhouette Studio Business Edition, this is the program that I will be using in order to create this. So I'm going to share my screen and then we will get started. And I'm going to share my desktop because I'm going to go back and forth. Oh, no, look at my messy desktop. And we're going to go back and forth between several different, like looking for items on Google and things. So this is the seamless design that we're going to create. This is the flower here. You all see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay. So this here are the flowers that I got off Google, and I'll show you. We'll go from the very beginning, where to get that from. And then, not that one. This is the inspiration piece that we are going to create for a tumbler. So first, if I can get a show of hands, just to let me know who is actually going to follow along and who's just watching. So if you're following along, can I get a thumbs up or a reaction, a show of hands, meaning you're going to work on it alongside? No one?
I wish I knew how to follow along. I was sitting here trying to figure out how to have the two screens up at the same time.
What program do you use? Do you use Apple or PC?
Apple.
Well, if you use an Apple, you can, I mean, it's completely up to you. You don't have to, but you can do a split screen if you wanted to.
How do I, because I had started pulling up Silhouette when you started sharing your screen, and now I can't tell which one is yours and which one, I guess mine is behind yours.
Mine should have all of these pictures in it. But if you wanted to do the split screen, do you know how to do a split screen? I mean, like I said, you don't have to. This is just in case you wanted to.
Okay, I'll just watch.
Okay,
and then
right, no worries.
Record it so I can just refer back.
Okay, perfect. Not a problem.
Hey, Tiff, this is Tasha.
Hey.
Are you doing a split screen from Silhouette?
No, just from my Apple device.
Oh. So how do I do it from? Do I need to do it from Silhouette, or do I need to do it from like my computer? Does it make sense? I'm sorry.
It's your computer.
Okay.
You good? We good?
How are you doing the split screen? I guess I'm
not doing a split screen right now, but you all still see my screen? I was showing, I believe, what her name is?
Andrea,
yeah. I was going to show her how to do the split screen. But for those of you, just in case, I'm not sure if you can still see my screen up here in the top right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I have an Apple device also. So if you hold down the green button and it says move the window to the left side of the screen, and then you can choose.
Okay.
Oops,
Where you
I know what you said. Okay, my bad. I thought
Okay.
you were talking about doing a split screen on like 2 silhouettes, but I know what you're talking about now.
Oh, you can do that as well. I have a couple silhouettes and you can do it, but it's the same exact process with any 2 windows.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay,
Well, I don't
I'm
see that
sorry. My
little,
bad.
I don't see that little green thing, but I do see, it says you're viewing Tiffany's screen. So I do see the view options. I can 50%, 100%, 150. Would I do that instead? Because I
No.
don't see that little green shield on my screen.
On Zoom, you might be in full screen mode.
Right.
So if you
I don't
take it
know.
out of full screen.
If she doesn't have a Mac, she can also use an HDMI cord. And if you have a TV, you could just hook it up from there to your TV and allow your TV to be your second screen.
Oh, okay.
Oh. So I would hook the HDMI cord up to my laptop and
Yes.
the TV will play the Zoom and then I can work on Silhouette full screen. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am. You can just drag it over just in the back, put your cord in the 1 or the 2 HDMI cord slot,
Mhm.
and then put it also in your computer. Now, if you have a Mac, you're probably gonna need an adapter.
Right.
It depends
Okay,
on
I do
the
have a
model.
Mac.
Okay, well, yeah, it should fit in there. And then you can just drag it over, use your TV screen for 1, and then you can also pull up Silhouette.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is I have a bunch of stuff on my screen just because I was playing around with some things earlier. So I'm going to start fresh with a new mat. Let me move this out of my way. Zoom out just a little bit so you all see I have a new mat. And I am going to turn off my video just because I don't want to mistakenly pick my nose and you guys see it. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is to get some pictures. So I got this picture online. All I did was type in flower icons free. I found this picture and it says that it is a free download, but I actually clicked on it and tried to go to the website to download it for free and it wouldn't let me. So I will copy the image, go back here and paste the image. Now it did say free, so no issues hopefully with stealing images because it says all downloads are free. All right, so a couple things that we need to go over very quickly, some of the commands that we're going to use so that when I say them and go over them, you all can kind of understand. The first one is this here, transform. What we'll do is you can get to it 2 different ways. So the first one is here on the right-hand side.
I'm sorry, which transform are you?
Do you see my screen here on the right?
I do see your screen.
But
with the
this icon
flowers
here.
blank screen. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's the white area and then there's the flowers up top. No.
Okay, no, right here on the right. Well, let me show you another way. So if you click on the item, it's this here at the top. Do you see that?
Yeah, I see the box around the 4 flowers.
No, do you see at the top of the screen?
No, I can't. Oh, wait. Now I see the top of the screen with the folder and the new and all of that and the scissors and paper.
Correct. So do you see where I have it highlighted, where my mouse is moving?
Right. Yes.
Okay, so that's the transform panel. And this same exact icon is on the right-hand side.
Okay.
So we're going to use this icon a lot.
And what is the transform? I mean, you don't mind us asking questions or
No, please do. Yes, not at all.
What is the transform panel? Because that is one thing that I have not ever used. Never.
So what it does is this icon here on the left, where you see the little line, and then these look like bars. And so what this does is this will take wherever your design is, and it would either line it up to your mat or your paper or the other designs that you may have selected. So right now I only have one design selected. So if I click this one, it's going to align it left to my paper. So watch. If I click on it, it aligned it exactly left to my media size.
Okay.
And then this one does center. I use center all the time.
Okay.
Centers
Okay.
vertically, and then this one centers horizontally. And then
Awesome.
the same thing with left, top, and bottom.
Okay.
Now, let's say I have two objects and I wanted them centered to each other. If I select both of them and do the same thing, instead of centering it to the paper, it centers it to each other, or
Okay.
whatever command you do. So let's
So
say
you
I want,
You
Excuse
just
me.
highlighted the two sets. Put
correct,
it as you were getting ready to, what do you call it? Group them.
correct.
And then you clicked on it. Okay.
So I
thank you.
selected one, I hold shift and select the other one. So now they're
Okay.
both selected. And I will center them horizontally. I can center them vertically, which would put them on top of each other because they were already horizontal. And one thing that I did learn, or that I realized, shall I say, is let's say you have them off-centered or they're not aligned correctly. So one is a little bit further in than the other.
Mhm.
If I do align to the right, it will bring the top one to the furthest right. If I do align to the left, it'll bring the bottom one furthest to the left. So whichever one is furthest is the one that it will align to, if that makes sense. So you'll notice I did align left and it moved the bottom one to the left. So if you're wanting to move the top one, let's do it again. If you're wanting to move the top one, let's say you want it to, you kind of want it like this, but it looks centered, but you know it's not exactly centered just because you're not perfect. So what you would do is I would usually just do a line center, and you see they both moved so that they're centered to each other. So that's just one trick. So we're going to use the transform feature.
Tiffany, quick question.
Yes.
What did you search for your flower? I was trying to find that flower that you have.
No
What-
problem. I just searched flower icons free.
It's free. Okay, that's what it was. Okay, thank you.
Those are beautiful.
Thank you. Well, I say thank you. I can't take any credit. Google did that.
You selected them.
Yeah. So that's the first item. We're going to have to use the transform feature. Next, we're going to use this one here called the modify panel. So we're going to use crop and we're going to use subtract. Are you all following?
Yes.
Okay, so this is something else we're going to use, crop and subtract. A little bit later on, we'll use the offset feature again. So these, do I use a rotate? Yeah, actually I do use a rotate or replicate feature. So we'll use these 4 features right here on the right.
Okay.
And if you're a Mac user, I'll show you some shortcuts as well as we start using them. So
I
the
am.
first, say it again, I'm sorry.
No, I just said I am a Mac user.
Okay, perfect. So the first one is the transform feature. The second one is the replicate feature. Then we have the subtract and crop feature. And like I said, a little later on, we'll use the offset feature. So we're going to use these 4 features during this tutorial. All right, so first thing we're going to start with is a feature I hadn't even talked about yet, though. We're also going to use this trace panel feature. So this is the first thing we're going to use. So we want to separate these 4 flowers from each other. And I'm going to put a box around it just so that you all can see that it has a white background on it. So all I did was just create a box. I changed the box black, and now I'm going to move it to the back. And you'll see it has, these flowers are in a white box. I want the flowers to be by themselves. You can't tell they're in a white box because right here, your background is white, which is why I use the black box. That's the only reason we needed that. So we don't need that anymore. So in order to separate your pictures or your flowers from its background, you select it, you go to your trace feature, select your trace area. So you highlight everything that you want to trace. And everything that's yellow is what is going to trace. So you need to increase the threshold so that you can get as much as possible without it looking kind of crazy like that one. So here you see there's a little bit that's not selected, but that shouldn't be a problem. Now there's 3 different trace options you have available. Now, because we want to keep the actual picture, we're only going to trace and detach. So we just want to trace it and then be able to pull it from its background. So we'll do trace and detach. Give it a couple seconds to think about what it wants to do. Now I can click. And if you recall, you remember the background was white. So I'm clicking anywhere in here and I can move it. Let me, if I put that square back, shouldn't have deleted it. But if I put that square back, I'll show you what it looks like. So now, let's send it to the back. Now your pictures are by itself. Well, this one isn't, it's not completely done. So we got to do that one again. But here you see this is your background. We've removed all of the background.
Wow.
So you can delete that because we don't need that background anymore. Now, if you recall, oh, it was already deleted. It just, I didn't separate it. All right. So now all 4 flowers are separated. They're all on their own. So for this first tutorial that we're going to do really quickly, and I say quickly, but sometimes my time reference isn't the same. The first thing we're going to do is I always turn off my mat when I'm just doing a seamless design. So I turn off my mat, I turn off my machine, and I make my media size 12 by 12. And I usually do 12 by 12 because this is about the size that when you purchase or you get digital paper, they usually come in a 12 by 12 section. So why not 12 by 12? I have all of my measurements currently in centimeters, but you can quickly toggle between centimeters and inches here on the bottom. So if you click on that gear on the bottom right-hand side, you can go between centimeters and inches. I personally like to use centimeters. So the first thing you do is to create the seamless design is I start with my edges. So I'll make a couple flowers, small or short. Let's say we want this one. And what this will do is me putting it here on the edge. You see this part of the flower is cut off, but it's going to be on this part of the flower or this part of the design. So when if you were to butt 2 pieces up against each other, 2 12 by 12 sheets, which I'll show you at the end, you'll have this section will meet this section. So I'll show you how to do that. So I always start with your bigger pieces, your edges, what you want things to kind of look like. So, all right, I know I just did a copy shortcut. For those who are Mac users, if you select the item, hold down the Option key, which is 2 to the left or right of the keyboard. If you hold down, select it, hold down your Option key, you'll see your mouse changes to a little plus sign with a tiny arrow. And if you drag, that allows you to make a copy of of whatever it was highlighted. So I usually just go through making copies. Make some small, make some big, however you like. So let's do a few. Let's make that one there. So right now I have this flower that's off to the right. I have this flower off to the left. This flower is off to the top. Now remember, this top is actually going to be here on the bottom, which means it'll be next to this flower. So let's move this one a little bit. Same thing with this. This that's off the mat will actually be over here on the mat. So let's move this out of the way. Now there is a lot of blank space and completely up to your liking, however you want. I'm going to add a couple hearts. Where's my heart? So I'm just going to put a couple hearts. And I am going to color my heart. Let's make it dark purple. Is everyone following or am I going too fast? Are we good?
Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're good.
You're good. I'm
Okay.
good.
Please let me know if you need me to slow down or if you need me to repeat something. I don't mind.
I'll just be in your inbox. No.
Okay. All right. So I
The
made
way
it.
I just called her, she said, I'll be in your inbox.
Huh?
She said, I'll be in your inbox.
If I ever, when I come to do it and I have questions,
Right. Right. I know the feeling.
No problem. No problem. This is what I'm here for. I love to do this.
okay.
All right. So I'm not going to do a whole bunch because I want to actually get to the tumbler one, but I'm going to make this flower that color. I mean, this heart. All right. So this one is going to come here. So let me move this one a little bit. Oops. All right. And I can be anal sometimes. Please forgive me. All right. So we're just going to go with that. So right now. So how do you get this, exactly this section to be over on this side? So this is where I'm going to slow down now and kind of give you all some direction. The first thing you do is you create a rectangle. And it doesn't matter how large, as long as it's from the top to the bottom of your design. And this is really just if you had another design that was kind of hanging off to the left. Because we only have one, it doesn't really matter, but I always just make them the same, a little bit longer than my design, than my mat. So you select that rectangle and you want it, use the transform panel and you want to align it left. So now it is aligned exactly on that line. Are we following?
Yes.
Now,
Can you do it again?
sure.
Or I lost.
All right, so this is where I was. And you
Mhm.
see this black line represents my
Mhm.
12 by 12 sheet of paper, my 12 by 12 mat. My rectangle is outside of that. It's not
Right.
aligned to this line.
Right.
So if you select your rectangle, go to your transform panel, and
Mhm.
you align it left, and that's the only thing that's selected. So it's going to align to your media.
Okay.
So it
Which is-
actually moved it to the right because it was too far left.
Okay.
We good?
Uh-huh.
All right. So now you want to take your flower. Well, let's do this. So we go back to the rectangle and we go to our replicate panel. Now, if you are a MacBook user, if you choose Command in any of the arrow, it will make a copy either to the left, top, right, or bottom, depending on which arrow you chose. But even if you're not a MacBook user, this does the same thing. So you want to duplicate your rectangle to the left. So I'm going to use this one here, and it made a duplicate copy immediately to the left. Now I'm going to do it with my shortcut, Command left, and you see it does the same exact thing. So now I have two copies of my rectangles that are aligned on that center line. I want to do the same thing for this flower. Command left or duplicate to the left, same thing. So now I have two flowers that are exactly spaced apart to the two rectangles. So now you're going to highlight your first rectangle, or sorry, highlight your second rectangle, hold down the shift key and highlight your original picture. So now you have your copied rectangle in your original picture, and you are going to crop. So now all that's left is that outside flower. You want me to do that again?
Yes, please.
All right, so let me undo. Did you all get to this part? Are you following with this part? 2 rectangles and 2 flowers? Or you want me to
Can
go
you go
back?
back one more step?
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
How about this? I'm gonna go back to here. So we all know how to take this rectangle and align it to the left.
Mhm.
We want to make a second rectangle. So this is my copied rectangle. And you want to do the same thing for your flower. You want to copy your flower over to the left. So
And
that's
you did
using that
by
duplicate.
command and I'm sorry. You did that by doing command and the arrow.
Correct, command left.
Mhm.
And when I do this one, I'm going to do command right because I'm going to come on this on the outside.
So command arrow left.
The
Correct,
left arrow.
the left arrow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yes. So now I have my original flower, my original rectangle. I have my copied rectangle and my copied flower. So now I want to take my copied rectangle and my original flower. And my flower is on top of my rectangle. I want to crop. So I want to remove everything except what is on top of this rectangle, because this section of this flower is not on top of the copied rectangle. So it's going to delete it. So when I hit crop, it's going to delete it. Are
Where
we
was the
following?
crop at? I'm sorry.
The crop is here on the modify panel.
Why don't I see you?
If you don't have, because some features may not be on the modify panel, but if you go up here to panels and you'll
Okay.
see modify, it's the same thing.
Okay. You said some features may not be where?
Some features may not be on your right toolbar.
No, I'm not. I'm following your page. I'm not even doing anything.
Oh,
And I didn't see where you were.
it's here on the right side.
And you know, for some reason, it's like your screen doesn't, I don't always see your full screen. I don't know what's going on here. Options, but go ahead.
Okay. So now we want this to be on this side. So now we want to align this to the right. So we select that small portion of the flower. You come back up here to your align and we align it to the right. Now, well, it didn't align this part because it actually separated it. So it made it 2 pieces. So we'll have to align that one too. So now we take our copy flower and we copy back. So that's just the command right. Or if you're not using those shortcuts, you just go to your transform feature and not transform, sorry. Go to your replicate feature and duplicate it to the right. So now we no longer need this flower. We're finished with him. So what it just did was you have this picture here. Don't worry about everything that's off of the map because they won't print or they won't they won't move on to the next stage anyway. When you actually save it. Go ahead. Were you saying something?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, so when you
In
actually
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So in regards to you, for this last flower here, you made a copy of it from the other flower that was to the left of it, correct?
Correct.
So instead of making a copy of it, is it a reason why you just didn't move that flower over?
Because I want it in the same exact spot. If that makes sense, because the only way that this flower will meet up with this one is if it's in the same exact spot. Let me show you. So if I was to just move this one, who knows if I mean, I know I can't.
Okay.
You can't get it exactly where you wanted it in order to line up with that.
Okay, I see now.
So that's why I copy it back.
Okay.
And then I delete that one. No worries. All right, so let's do the same thing with this flower here. So we want this part that's outside of the design to be on the inside of the design here. So you take your rectangle, move your rectangle to the right side. And who can tell me what we're going to do now?
Command.
You're gonna crop.
Nope,
Copy the
before you
flower.
crop.
Copy the flower first.
Nope.
Oh,
Or you can do either one. Okay, so let's copy the flower. And what are we going to do with this rectangle?
Gonna duplicate it.
We're going to copy the rectangle to the right also. So now what two items are we going to select? We have the original rectangle, we have the copied rectangle, we have the original flower, we have the copied flower.
The
you're
original.
gonna take the copied rectangle and your original flower,
Copied rectangle, original flower.
and then you're
And
gonna
now
crop
we'll-
it.
Now we're going to crop it. Crop it. So now what do you do with that what's left of the original flower?
You're gonna move it over.
You're going to align it to the left. Exactly.
Yeah.
Now we're going to take this copied flower and we want the original
Align it
back.
back.
So we just copied it back to the left because again, we want it in the same exact spot. So now we can get rid of this. So now we're going to do the same for the top. So here is where you would do your transform. So we want to rotate our rectangle. And to be honest, this is just completely up to you. You don't have to. What am I doing? Tiffany. We're rotating it 90 degrees. I'm going to center it and I'm going to align it to the top now. Now, because this was the only thing selected, it aligned everything to the media size. So again, we take the rectangle, we copy up, we take the flower, we copy up, you take the copied rectangle, take the original flower, and you crop. Now we take the what's left of the original flower and we align it to the bottom. We take the copied flower and we put it back. Now we can delete. So now we no longer need this rectangle. We're done. So here are all of your images. You have what's missing here is here. What was missing here is here. What's missing here is here. So now what I do is, right now it's on a white background. And you can choose to put a background on it if you like or not, completely up to you. But to move this along, I'm not going to put a background on it. So now I go to File, I save as, I save it to my hard drive, and let's just name it 1 through 5 as a JPEG. I turn up my pixels just for the best quality, but that's also going to make it huge when you copy it back, which is not a problem. I'll show you how to do that. So you save it. Now let's go to a blank document and we can open. Is everyone following? Are we still good?
Yes.
Okay. So let's open that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I just saved as a JPEG. I told you it's really big. And that's just because how I saved it. So if you want to decrease it without messing up the aspect ratios, you lock the aspect ratios. I normally just choose 5 or 10, and you'll notice it's off the map. So instead of me searching for it, I just click on this here. It says center it to page, and it just centers it to the page. And then I can enlarge it or, reduce it however I want. All right, so now we're testing it. So you'll see it's off here. And if you recall, if you remember, let me delete this one. I said delete. All right, so this was the one that we worked on. If you recall, this section is now over here. This section is now over here. So when we saved it as a JPEG, it only saved everything that was inside of this line, which is why it looks like this now. So to test to make sure that it is seamless, we just want to copy this whole picture to the right. So again, Command right arrow, and you see it copied it to the right. You can
Wow.
copy it down. Oops, I just moved it. Copy it to the left, and that one little picture is now seamless. Now, let me show you something, and this is where my little, I guess I'm a little anal or OCD when it comes to it. You'll see here, all of these flowers were kind of lined up. And because I have, let's go back to the original, I have the same color flower next to the next one. You see two flowers that look exactly alike. So depending on your liking and how you want things, you can go back to your original document and maybe change this flower because it made a second one exactly like it. And these flowers are all kind of lined up. And you can see that line right there. But that's how you make a seamless design. So now if you wanted to put this on a tumbler, when this end meets up with this end, now again, that is making sure that you've lined them up correctly, you will not see a seam any longer because the flowers match up exactly. So that's how you create.
That's so cool.
That's how
I'm
you
sorry.
create seamless design. All right. Do you guys want to make one for a Tumblr or no? Are we good?
Yeah, may I ask a
Yes, please.
question, please?
Mhm.
I didn't understand why you increased the pixels when
Just-
you saved the image.
For the quality of the image.
Okay. And when we save images, we're saving them as PNGs and not SVGs because you talked about the flower. If we had saved it as an SVG, would that have allowed us to kind of go in and make changes if we needed to?
Yes. The reason I didn't save it as an SVG is because an SVG is a cut file. And so we're not looking to cut this. We're just looking to print a picture.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. So you could have saved it as a PNG or a JPEG. The PNG is a transparent picture. So you'll notice, if you recall the very first picture that we had that I took from Google and it had that white background, that's because it was a JPEG. So I just saved it as a JPEG also. Let's move it to the back and you'll see it has that white background. If I would have saved it as a PNG, let's go back and, oops, let's go back and save it as a PNG. And I'll show you the difference. Let's make this one up to 6 and save it as a PNG. Oh, I already have one. Oh, I clicked something wrong. 6. Save it as a PNG. I mean a PNG. Now it'll ask if you want the transparent background. Let's say yes. Again, I always increase my pixels and choose save. So let's go back to saving. Let's go back to this document and I'm going to open as a shortcut. If you do Shift, Command, and O, it will open the item in the same mat. So again, let me zoom out. I should have moved this one. I didn't move it. I apologize. Let me move this one off. So here's my original picture. Again, you could either lock and change your size and now here, this one was saved as a PNG and you see the white background. This
Mhm.
one is saved as this one was saved as a JPEG with the white background. This one is saved as a PNG, and you see there's no white background. So it made the background transparent. So completely up to you, whatever preference you have. I'm gonna do a quick background. I know I said I wasn't going to, but I am. So I just put a square. I'm back at my original, the picture that we designed. And I just put a square, and my square is larger than the mat. Now, if you remember, everything that's off of the mat won't even be saved when I go to save it. So these extra parts, it doesn't matter. So I click on my square. I want to fill it with a pattern. Let's do this rose glitter pattern. All you do is you go to your library, you go to your patterns, and you import patterns here. And I think I showed that one time I did a tutorial, how to import patterns. So all you do is click on the pattern one time, go back to your design, and it created that pattern. Move your pattern to the back. So now everything is in front of it. That doesn't look very nice. It's kind of busy. So now I'll come over here to my paint and go to my pattern fill, go to advanced, and I want to make it transparent. So make it lighter. So all I'm doing is lightening it up. So there's a background we have for it. So now when I save it, six, seven. So now when I save it, and this time I want to save it as a JPEG definitely because I want everything that's there to be saved. Hit OK. Move my pixels, increase my pixel size, hit save. Let's go to a blank document. Let's open.
What
Well, because
version are you using of design of the Silhouette design? Because when I say that pixel thing never comes up.
this is the business edition. Do you
I
save
have
as a
that.
JPEG or a PNG?
No, maybe that's why I've only saved as like a SVG.
Yes, so SVG, you won't get the pixel count.
Okay.
So because I already have a mat open, I just want to merge, because if I do open, it's going to open up a whole nother mat and everything, but I already have it open. So I just merge. This one was 6 to 7. Again, it's huge. Select it. Lock your aspect ratio. I'll do 10. Center it to the page because I don't feel like searching for it. Here it is with the background. Again, control right. And it's the seamless pattern, command down, your seamless pattern, command to the left. I messed it up. Your seamless pattern. So this is the pattern with a background on it. And then we have the pattern with just I didn't group it, so that's why it's coming apart. So this is the pattern with the white background. This is the pattern with the transparent background. So that is how you make a seamless design. Again, I told you, if I was doing this for me, I would go back and change how these flowers look so it's not one big line. But again, like I said, that's just me. All right, so let's put this to the side. Let me delete these. So now, where's my design? So this is what I was playing around with. I created this earlier today. This is my inspiration. I'm going to copy it to a blank file, blank mat, so we could see. And I said, oh, I like how they have this jagged edge on both sides. It's still seamless. So when these two butt up against each other, they will be seamless as well. So are y'all ready to do this?
Yes.
All right. So as we get through, as we go through certain parts, I want you guys to tell me how to do this. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with my images. I'm gonna make a rectangle that will represent this here, this rectangle side over here. And I wanna fill it with a pattern. So let's see what pattern we wanna fill it with. Where are all my patterns? Oh, here go my leopard prints.
Tiffany, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
So the one that you just did before that, that's more so for a background, or could you use that? I heard you say like for the tumbler, but if you did a template, okay, it wouldn't quite be 12 by 12. So how would you keep it seamless within there?
So if you're asking if you want to put this picture on a tumbler, a full wrap tumbler.
Yes.
Okay. Good question. So let me. Why do you keep moving? Okay. So now I have 12 by 12, 12 by 12, 12 by 12, 12 by 12. So all I did was I copied it 4 times and I grouped it. Then you can decide, depending on what size your tumblers are. For me, now if you have a straight tumbler, it's very simple because your length, it's a rectangle or square, depending on how you measure your tumblers. If you have a tapered tumbler, it could be a little bit tricky. For me, I have business edition. I use a conical warp. Now, for the tumblers that I purchase, I already know my measurements are 7.5, 7. And my height, I do 21.5 centimeters, just because I like my tumblers to wrap around the bottom. Thank you, Latasha. She showed me how to do that. So I let my height is longer than my tumbler. Let me say that. So now this is my design. This is my tumbler. You'll see that my design is not large enough to cover the full tumbler because this pink line represents the tumbler. So what I do is I increase until it fills it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Is
And
this
then
for the, which tumbler is this for?
this is for the 20-ounce skinny for the tapered. You'll see that the top is larger than the bottom.
Okay, thank you.
But you'll see here, this line will match up with this line. So it will still be seamless.
Tiffany,
Uh-huh.
apparently I've never opened the warp on my computer. That cylinder you have representing the tumbler, is that an automatic or is that something you created on
No,
your computer?
this is available on Business Edition of Silhouette.
I have business, I just guess I never opened it.
Yeah, it should be there then.
Okay.
Oh, no, show her from the top of the thing.
I've never gotten to it from the top. Let me see. Panel.
Oh,
Tell me how to get there from the top.
okay, you ready? Hold
Go ahead.
on. Go to panels.
Okay.
And just go down.
Hold on. Go down to warp.
Warp.
Oh, here's warp. Okay, panels and
mhm.
warp.
And there it is.
And then
Mhm.
the same panel will come up. So let me close it.
Yeah.
Go to panels, go to warp, and then you choose the cup. Thank you. That was Latasha.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So you go to your cup. Now you have to have an object selected. So if you have an object selected, then it allows you to select that shape to conical warp it.
Okay.
But that's how you create that little 12 by 12 that we created 4 versions of it, seamless, and then we put it on the tumbler. And you'll see when this side butts up with this side, when you match them together to put your take for your seam, they will meet up and it will look seamless again. I'm not sure. I can't remember who asked me that, but did that answer your question?
Yes. It does.
It did. Uh-huh.
All right. So I'm going to cancel that. Put that back out. So now we're going to make this design here. So first thing I do is I get the materials that I need. We'll do the picture frames in a minute because those are pretty easy. But to make this jagged edged
Hey,
edge,
Tiffany, I'm so sorry. Don't mean to cut you off. If
No, go
someone
ahead.
can everyone please mute their audio, please?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Thank you. Okay, so I made a rectangle, which will represent this design right here. This, I don't know what this is. I don't know, speckle design. But now I need something to represent this. It looks like ripped paper to me. So what I did was I go to Google, I typed in ripped paper PNG, and this is what I came up with. Now, you can go to the actual website and download the paper and do all that good stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I tried a couple different ripped papers and it didn't necessarily work. Like this one says it's a free download of ripped paper. So if this is kind of the angles you wanted, but I really like this angle right here. So all I did was I copied it, copied the image. I went back to my Silhouette, pasted that image. So you'll see it pasted the image with the transparent background with it because all I did was copy the image itself. So now what I'll do is I will trace out this here because all I want is this ripped part here. Now I have to increase my threshold so that I can see it being traced. That was a little too much. You see, if you go too much, it copies or it traces too much. Everything that's yellow is what is actually going to be traced. So I want that traced. I go to now, if you recall, before we did trace and detach because we wanted that actual flower. Now, all I want is the line. So all I'm going to do is trace it. So I can move my paper out the way. Here is my line. Increase it. I want to rotate it because I want my line to be rotated. Maybe I want my line rotated that way. Now, if you notice, it copied a little bit too much, more than I wanted. So I'm going to increase that. Now, because this is all one image, and I'm not sure if you all can see this, it's actually separated. You all see that it's separated?
Yes.
What you can do is you release the compound path and it makes them 2 separate images. So now I'll just delete this one image. Now, let's say like this is too close together. You don't want it that close together. If you double click on it, it changes to different points in your line. And so you can move your point however you want it. Like if you wanted it to be a little bit thicker, if you wanted to change the curvature of their line, you know, whatever you decide. If you want to delete that section, completely up to you. All right, so let me zoom back out. These are my images. So I have my rectangle. Let's choose a leopard print. I have my cutout. Let's make this bigger so we can see it a little bit better. I have my cutout. I want to fill it Let's fill it with gold, I guess. I don't know. Again, these are all just patterns that I've either uploaded here or that some of them were already there. So I filled it with a pattern. I personally don't like the red line, so I always turn my lines off. If you want your pattern a little bit larger, however you choose. So this is where my pattern would go. I don't want it as much. All right, so that's my pattern. Excuse me. So now to create what's on the other side and make it seamless, we do the same thing we did for the flower. So you see your leopard print is off of the mat. So you want this section that's off of the mat to be on this side of the item or of the material. I always make a copy of the original just in case I mess up and you like 6, 7 steps in and you're like, I need to go back to the original. I always make a copy of the original. So here, first thing I do is I select both of them and I will go back to this modified panel and I do subtract all. And all it does is it separates everything. And I'll show you what that means. So it basically cut that out of that design. And one thing I didn't do, I apologize. My leopard print is longer. My leopard print is longer than my design. So I need to make my design kind of hang off the edge a little bit, top and bottom. All right, so go back here. Was someone saying something? All right, go back here, do subtract all. Now, if I move it out the way, you'll see it subtracted it, but this is still one image. Although it's separated into 2 pieces, it's still one image. So what you would need to do is you right click on that rectangle and you just ungroup it. Now you literally have 3 separate pieces. I don't know where that little thing came from, but now you have 3 separate pieces. So you don't no longer need this piece. So this represents this jagged edge here. I selected both of them because I still want them to travel together. I moved it off the edge a little bit, just like we had the flower that was off the edge. And now I'm going to do the same exact thing. So let me group these together first, just so that I don't mess them up. So, okay, when we had the flower off of the edge, how did we get the copy of the edge onto this side? Can anyone remember?
Make a rectangle.
You make a rectangle. And what do you do with this rectangle? I'm gonna move my rectangle here. So what do I do with this rectangle?
You copy to
Make a
the
copy of
left.
it.
You align it to the right. So now it aligns exactly with the media size. The length doesn't matter as long as it covers the media size. So now what do I do?
Make a copy.
You make a copy of that rectangle to the right. Okay, what next?
Select your original image.
Okay, select the
And the
original
copy.
picture. And
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 make
the
a
copy
copy,
of your
copy rectangle.
make a copy
Wow.
of that to the right. And
And
we're just
top.
making a copy of this one so that we can save it. That's fine. So we're not using this one. So now what 2 do we need to select?
Is it the original and the copy?
The original picture and the
And the
copied
copied thing.
rectangle.
Mhm.
And we will crop them. So now you all you have left, and we won't need this, all this extra. So now all you have left is the edge of that piece of paper. Now I could have made my edge bigger because you see it comes out a little bit farther. So let's redo it. Let's make the edge a little bit larger. All I'm doing is click and undo. So let's bring our edge out a little bit more. Let's make it bigger. All right, so let's bring our edge out a little bit more because this is what will transform to this side. All right, so let's do it again. We have our original rectangle. We make a copy to the right. We have our original picture. We make a copy to the right. We select the original picture and the copied rectangle, and you crop them. Again, we have all this extra. And the only reason we have this extra is because I had to get rid of that extra piece. So it literally made all the pieces in this line a separate image, which is fine. We can just delete it. That's not a problem. All right, so now we take that edge, what's left of the original picture, and what do we do with it?
Align it to the other side.
Align it to the left. Very good. You align it to the left, and now what do you do?
Move the duplicate over to
You take your copy
your
picture.
media.
Exactly. You take your copy picture and you copy it back to the left. So now it's in the same exact spot that it was originally. So we no longer need this one. We
How
no
are you
longer,
copying to the left? Are you just hitting copy, or is it a command to copy to the
it's
left?
command and arrow to the left.
Command arrow to the left. Okay.
Mhm. Or you can use this transform panel. No, it wasn't transform
Okay.
panel. You use the replicate panel and you either duplicate it left, right, up, or down.
Okay.
These do the same exact thing. So I no longer need this square. So now this has a blunt edge, but I want it to have this jagged edge just like this one. So if I go back here, I'll ungroup it because I want this edge. Remember, this is the edge I want.
Mhm.
So what I'll do with this edge is I will copy it to the left also. So now I will move this edge to where I want it. Let's say right there. And I chose here because this is the furthest part out that it sticks. And I want it to just meet the edge of that paper. So let me zoom in on it. And it sticks out just a tiny bit too much. So I want it to just meet the edge of it. Again, this is completely up to you. It's your preference. I'll zoom back out. Do you all remember how I got this jagged edge? What did we do?
Traced it.
Nope. We traced it when we got it, but how do we make this leopard paper have a jagged edge?
Subtract.
Oh, yeah.
Not subtract, we divide.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
yeah, we did. We subtract all.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
subtract
it's okay.
all. And you'll see it's subtracted,
Mhm.
but it's still, because this was still one image. So let me undo it because I still want it to be exactly where it was. So I just click on the leopard print and I will right click and ungroup it. So now it's 3 separate pieces. I have the left piece. I don't know why this keep doing that. I have the left piece, I have the right piece, and I have my center. So now I can move my right piece. And there you have it. Remember, everything that is off the mat will not be saved. So you don't have to worry about those. All right, so now we have our left side, which is a mirror image of our right side. We have our right side. So now we just need to do whatever we want in the middle. So I'm just going to make my mom's name. And actually, tomorrow is my mother's birthday.
Wow, awesome.
So her name is Judy. Again, this is completely up to you, your preference. I just want a little thicker letter. And y'all, I can be so OCD. I could take 30 minutes just to find a font that I want, but I'm not going to do y'all like that. So I want my letters a little bit wider. See, here I go. I'm done. I'm not going to go through all that. All right. So if you notice here, the letters that say mama is the same pattern as this. We can do that if you want. I personally don't like it because it's a much smaller pattern than this. And I'll show you how to do that. So we want to do the same pattern. So if you click on it, the same way that we made our rectangle, this leopard print, you click on it, you go to your library, you click it one time, go back to design, and now your letters are that same pattern. Now, personally, I don't like this because it's a smaller pattern, even though you can still change it. And let me show you that real quickly. If you go to your paint panel, or yeah, your paint panel, you go to your patterns and you click on advanced. You can change the angle of it. You can change how big or how small. So right now that's at 100%. I can make my patterns as big or as small as I wanted to. So if I was to use the same, if I wanted her name as the same pattern, I would probably do it this large just so that it mirrors it. So it looks the same. But me personally, I don't like the name patterned. So I'm gonna make the name all black. Now, we can, I always use this rotate. I want to rotate 90 degrees clockwise. So now her name will go up and down. Make it a little bit smaller. All right, so the next thing we have is they have two separate pictures here. Again, good old Google. Let's see, we can find Polaroid frame vertical is what I put in. And you just kind of find one that you like, and hopefully you can print it how you like it. So this one says it's a free Polaroid picture. Again, you can go to the website, especially since it's free, you can go to the website and actually download the picture, but I'm gonna try something. So we're gonna go to, I copied the image. Now I'm just gonna paste it. And you see that it actually pasted with that transparent background. I don't want that transparent background on there. So I can do one of two things. I can do the trace and remove. I need to remove this background, this part anyway, but there's going to be a picture on the inside of here. So I'm not going to worry about the middle part because I'm going to overlay a picture on top of it. But what I am going to do is do a trace and remove these checkers that are around the outside of the picture of the Polaroid frame. So all I want to keep is this right here. Come on. No, not that far. Right. Too much. Right there. And I'm going to trace and detach because I want the picture itself. So now I can remove the picture and I don't need this anymore. Just delete that. So here's my Polaroid. Make it whatever size I want. Let's make my mom's name a little bit smaller. Now, remember, we can't move these side panels because we made it seamless, so they butt up against each other. So if I were to move this, it will no longer match. So if you feel like you needed to move this over or move this one over, then you have to go back through that first process we did. So I want one picture here. Again, hold the Option key, drag down. I want my second picture here. So let's find a picture. Let's see what Google has for us again. Let's do children pictures. Oh, she's cute. Let's take her. Copy her. Let me paste her. Now, because this Polaroid picture, it's not see-through in the middle, we actually need to do a subtraction. And I'll show you that. Because we want to make sure our picture is lined up. So all I did was take a square. And I am going to draw right over that. If you all remember before, when we subtracted, that's what we're going to do. Select both of them. Go to your subtract. So now it just took it out. So now when I take this, you'll see that there's a hole. All right, so now I need to move it to the front now because I want to see where in the picture do I want to crop. So I want the little girl right about right there. Take another rectangle. Make my rectangle where I want it to be. I'll move my Polaroid out of the way and I'll do subtract again. Or crop, sorry. I'll do crop this time because all I want is where the rectangle is. So now it's right over it. I can move it back to where I want it. I usually try to make it just a little bit larger to make sure that it covers any white spots. I do Command and G to group them together, and then I can resize it to whatever size I want. Oops. So I'm not going to do the second one because it's the same exact process. But what I want to do now is I'm going to save it as now I have a white background, so you can save it as a JPEG or as a PNG, again, completely up to you. And I'm going to show you to show you how the two edges butt up against each other. So these are the two pictures that I have. I go to File, Save As. Let's save this as my mom's name, Judy 1. I think I had one named Judy already. No, all right. Anyway, Judy 1.
Tiffany, before you move on, did you have a goal around the picture frame? Is that on the other one, on your picture, original picture?
I don't understand. Say it again. Oh, on the original picture.
Yeah.
Oh,
goal,
yeah. This isn't actually,
offset.
I chose a picture frame. We can just do just a rectangle. You want to do just a rectangle?
I just like how that kind of matched.
Yeah, no problem. We can do that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so Miss Shirley doesn't like the picture frame, the Polaroid.
How the jagged edge matches the
Right,
around the original.
I get it. No problem. I completely get it.
Okay.
So we're back to our original picture. All I did was paste it again. So here is one rectangle, and we want to make this rectangle, we're going to put two of them. So that's why I'm just here to size it. We want this rectangle to have that same gold outline. Now, something I didn't do. I told you I don't like these. I don't know if you can see it, but it bothers me. I'm gonna zoom in. You see this red cut line. I personally don't like them. So I just take off all the lines just so you can get a better idea of what it looks like. All right, so Miss Shirley wants us to make this a gold picture frame with this same jagged edge, the same color as this jagged edge. So right now it's just one line, but we need to make it two lines, two boxes, one smaller than the other one. So all I do again is I do the Option key, which you see the hand change to that arrow with a plus sign, I make a duplicate of it. Now, I make the duplicate a little bit smaller, and I don't look at everything. I kind of look at how big I want it to be. And I highlight both of them because you see here, can you all see? Let me zoom in a little bit more. No, it's too much. You see here, the width or the distance between the two is smaller than the distance here. Again, completely up to you and your preference, but why not use some of the features we just talked about? So you highlight both of them. And if you use this center, this one centers it to the page and this one centers it to each other. So the only two things that are highlighted are these two rectangles. We center them to each other, and that made this rectangle become directly in the middle of this rectangle. So now, and I'll change this color to represent this same color. So I'll show you what I'm about to do. Because if I was to just make, just like I did, if I was just to make the color, change the color, it changes the whole square. I don't want a square. I want an outline of a square, or I want a box. So what I have to do now is, does anyone know? How do I take the color out of this center part?
Crop it out.
You have to crop it out, exactly. So you highlight both of them. You have to make sure that whatever you crop, whatever's on top, let me ungroup it. Come on. Oh, it is ungrouped. Let me go back and center it just in case I did something wrong. Okay, so whichever object is on top, when you crop, whatever is on top is what is going to stay. But if you do subtract, whatever is on top is what is going to leave, is going to be subtracted. So you highlight both of them, and I change it to a color just so that you can see the effect. If we were to leave it white, you wouldn't see that it actually happened. So I change it to a color so you can see it happen. You go over here to your modify panel and we will subtract because we want to remove what's in the middle. So we just subtracted what was in the middle. And now you're able to keep your color just on the edge. Now, again, because we're putting a picture in there, that really wasn't necessary. It was completely up to you. Let's put this back over here. Let's make it large enough so we can see what part of the picture we want. We got to move it to the front so we can see it. What part of the picture we want. We want to make it maybe a little bit smaller. This is what we want from the picture. So I didn't do one thing. Okay, we can do it now. It would have been easier to do it before. So I'm going to undo to show you where it was easier to do it before. So here, this square or this rectangle right here is what we're going to cut out of that picture. So if you highlight that rectangle, and just make a copy of it. So you have that same size. Well, actually I resized it. It didn't matter. I apologize, y'all. Let's subtract again because we're gonna have to do it anyway because I resized the whole rectangle. So it doesn't make sense to copy it right there because I got a different size. All right. So again, I told you all I don't like that red outline. So I always remove the red outline. So put the picture back in front. Let's figure out where we want this picture to be. All right, we like that. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so I can see her a little bit better. I'm gonna create another rectangle right where she is. Now I can remove this rectangle because I want to keep this. I'm going to use that. I'm going to highlight both of these. So we have the rectangle on the front and we have the picture on the back. How do we get rid of the everything that we don't want in the picture?
Contract.
Crop, because we want to keep what's in the inside now. Subtract
crop, yeah.
gets rid of what's in the inside.
Inside, right.
Okay, okay.
So we want to crop it so it only keeps the inside. And you can see we can put this back on. Like I said earlier, I always make my picture just a tad bit bigger, just to cover, you see these little white edges on the side, just to ensure that those little white edges are covered. I'll group it now. So now it travels together. It still has a little white edge, but y'all get the picture. I know I'm dragging this tutorial out. Go back to where we want to put it, make it as small as we want so that it will fit. And I'm just going to put the one, but you do the same thing if you want to do it again with another picture. Now we'll save everything to the hard drive. Let's save it as Judy123. Save it as, again, you can save it as a JPEG or PNG, completely up to you. Save it as a JPEG, increase your pixels, save. And now let's go to, oh, it's doing its duty. Let's go to a blank document. We'll open up that Judy123. Again, it's huge. Reduce the pixels, reduce the size and center to the page. And now you'll see this is exactly how we wanted it. And now let's test to make sure that it's lined up correctly. So the way that I test it is I just make another copy, just like we did the flowers. Make another copy to the right. And when this edge lines up with this edge, you see it has a seamless pattern on the side. So if you were putting this on a tumbler, when this edge matches up to this edge, it will look exactly like, it'll look like that. And we're finished. What questions we got?
I have a question. I know you said that you had a tapered tumbler. Mine are straight. What measurements would I go by at a 20-ounce
Okay.
straight?
You would need to measure your tumbler in order to see what size it is. The best way to do that for a straight tumbler is just to take a ruler and measure the diameter at the top and the diameter at the bottom.
Okay.
And whatever those two diameters are, you can still put it in the conical warp if you have business edition, but it just gives you an idea of how wide or how wide you need your tumbler to be. So let's say this is a straight tumbler, or this image is for a straight tumbler. So I go to my conical warp feature. I warp it, conical warp it. Let's say I have some straight tumblers that are both 7.5 by 7.5. Actually, they're 7.4 by 7.4, but same difference. Again, I like to make mine a little bit larger. And you'll see this picture itself isn't wide enough for this image. So all I do is I increase the picture to the size that I want it to be. And this is the measurement for 7.5 by 7.5 tumbler. Straight tumbler.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. And first of all, thank you for doing this.
Miss Shirley, you
usually-
the one got me into this, so thank you.
Listen, I always overlap my paper just a tiny, tiny bit.
Okay.
With this, do we butt it side each other, or do we still overlap it just to? just a tiny, tiny bit for it to match? I was
If
just
you want it
curious.
seamless, it has to butt up exactly.
Okay, okay. So just tape it down down right where it meets. Okay, great.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks.
I mean, and even like I just showed you, I do 7.5. My tumblers are actually 7.4. So
Okay.
it does overlap a teeny tiny bit.
Okay, all right.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Mhm. Anyone else have any questions? I'm gonna end this. And I can put my face back. Okay, let's see. Let's see what we got in the chat. We said, so does this image have to be on the workspace? Tasha, the image has to be on the workspace in order for you to save it because it only saves what's on the workspace. I hope that answered your question. If that wasn't your question, let me know. I'm going to end the live stream on Facebook in the group, and I'm going to stop recording.